Pull on up a chair. You're at Camp Video Games, y'all.
Well, hey there, campers. Welcome to Camp Video Games. This is a podcast that covers video games and their multimedia adaptations. Today, we are talking about Mega Man, the cartoon series, the Ruby Spears cartoon series from the late 80s or early 90s.
September 11th, 1994.
A day that will live in pretty good vibes because it's an okay show.
It was a chill time and a chill show.
Hey, I'm Junior Camp Counselor Sean. I almost forgot my name. And that there is Junior Camp Counselor Josh.
This is Junior Camp Counselor Josh. Look, all right, I understand everybody loves robot dog helpers around camp. You can't give them real dog snacks. It will get in their circuits. It will cause them to go haywire, and they're starting to bite other campers. Please only give them the appropriate robot dog snacks.
And if you give them the wrong snacks, they'll start pronouncing every word with an R at the beginning.
Yeah, it definitely gives them Scrappy Doo syndrome. So we don't want that either. It's not quite as cute as it used to be. I can't understand what they're saying.
Welcome to Ramp Video Games. Okay. Mega Man, the cartoon series, the super fighting robot Mega Man. It's Ruby Spears is the production team behind it, and they are the people you'd think it's Hanna-Barbera that invented Scooby-Doo, but it's Ruby Spears that did that. So there is an actual Scooby-Doo connection with the Rush talking like Scooby-Doo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to correct you, Junior Camp Counselor Josh, but Scrappy-Doo does not have the same speech impediment that Scooby-Doo
I'm an idiot.
does.
Yeah, Scrappy-Doo talks like just a normal human little guy, doesn't he?
He talks
Yeah.
like one of the Three Stooges, I think.
Yeah. Sorry about that. But anyway,
I'm really embarrassed on your behalf. That's so embarrassing.
talking about Mega Man, the animated series from 1994, brought to you, yes, indeed, by the Ruby Spears production company, responsible for things like Scooby-Doo. I believe the Saturday Supercade show, which I think we have some lost episodes of us talking, either commenting live or reviewing. I do not recall.
We were talking over the Donkey Kong cartoon.
Yeah.
Or I guess that's called commentary.
Yeah, if you go over their production, the filmography, TVography, whatever you want to call it, they're really sort of one of the early production companies for adaptation. I'm just was glancing through the list of things they've adapted, which includes Mega Man. Includes Heathcliff. I don't know if it's the Heathcliff that we know. I would contend the Heathcliff comic is way funnier than the TV show.
I still follow
I love
Heathcliff on Instagram.
Yeah.
Heathcliff is the funniest orange cat ever put onto a comic strip.
Yeah, dude. Shouts out to the Meatcast podcast, a weekly review of every Heathcliff strip. Very good podcast as well. But they did a Mork and Mindy. They did a Mr. T cartoon.
Yeah, but they did the Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rambo.
I love the
Police
Rambo
Academy.
cartoon. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's like if something was being adapted to a cartoon, Ruby Spears was the go-to production group for a while, and they finally landed on 1994's Mega Man the Animated Series, which it was one of their last.
That's right. Yeah, I am looking through their filmography now too, and some absolute bangers. In terms of what's relevant to the Camp Video Games ongoing discussion, I mean, first and foremost, the Mega Man card. Camp Video Games. We've been doing this show for 2 years, and this is one of the first things that I wanted to talk about, and simply because it kind of introduced me to the idea of what a video game adaptation is, and alongside the Super Mario Brothers Super Show with The Legend of Zelda. By the way, campers, go back, listen to our full series dedicated to The Legend of Zelda.
It was a little too much,
series.
But it's there if you want.
We did it. We talked about all 13 episodes of that show, but there's
We learned our lesson.
27 episodes of this Mega Man show, and we are only talking about a few of them.
Yeah. So on that note, the Super Mario Brothers Super Show was my introduction to adaptations as a child, and that felt that was, I don't remember when it aired. Was it on like just every afternoon or something?
I would catch it before school, but I grew up in a different
Yeah.
place.
So, I had very, very basic cable growing up in the 90s. I had the cable. It stops at channel 32.
Yeah.
Because you had to pay, and that was the Weather Channel. Once you got to 33, that was Disney Channel. That's premium. Only your rich friends had that.
That's right.
So, there was whatever the Super Mario Brothers Super Show was airing on. There were also early morning. Some stations were picking up like Sonic the Hedgehog, the series, the original Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon series that maybe we'll talk about that someday, where he loves chili dogs.
Love them.
They introduced his love of chili dogs for some reason. That was like it. These are all like only before 8 a.m. Right?
Yeah.
And Mega Man was the first one I latched onto as like, this is one I put in my like weekly routine to try to catch. Like
Absolutely.
It was on Saturdays before Fox's Saturday morning lineup. So
Good lineup too.
And I don't remember this was maybe the peak of like the serialized Spider-Man, X-Men were happening at this time. But if you got up at 7 a.m., you got one episode of Mega Man. And it blew my mind that this was happening for some reason. Because I think there's something about like, oh, Mario and Sonic, that's their mascots. If anybody's going to get a
Yes.
adaptation, that's what's going to be. Mega Man felt like, ooh, this is like just for me. Because nobody I knew played Mega Man. You know? Well, I had one or two friends that like had a Mega Man game or something. But it wasn't...
It's for the real heads.
Yeah, it wasn't as mainstream.
I guess my experience with the Mega Man show growing up is very similar. Where I was big into the Mega Man games. Campers, listen back. This is our third discussion in an ongoing series about the Mega Man series. But the Mega Man cartoon, I wasn't talking with my friends about that one. That
Right.
wasn't something that they were into. But I, being like a dedicated Mega Man fan for most of my life at this point. Now I'm thinking about it. It's like, I mean, I was born a year before Mega Man was released. And as soon as I had a Nintendo, I was playing Mega Man. So it's one of those series that like is very important to me. And the cartoon is what made it like truly important to me, because it put voices and characterization to these otherwise tiny little pixel based characters. It was very special, and it made it more true to life. It felt like I had real actual friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that note about like expanding on the abstraction of lore, which as we get into discussing the episodes,
there's not much to abstract.
There's not a lot more. I mean, episode 1 is an origin story.
Sure.
And then I personally said I also want to watch the Mega Man X crossover episode, which is sort of the last episode, but not really, because I just had core memories of that being feeling like when you're 9 years old and getting up at 7 a.m. to watch this, you're like, this is important. This is Frost Nixon for my generation, you know? It's like, so I said that's the other episode I'm willing to watch.
Yeah.
I
tore through the whole series.
Yeah, I only watched one other episode besides that and went, oh, there's zero like lore. This is absolutely Monster of the Week nonsense beyond these 2 episodes.
Yes. Well, okay. Dr. Wily wants to take over fill in the blank. Dr. Wily has stolen fill in the blank.
To do crimes.
There's not a single episode where Dr. Wily is not responsible for the problems, kind of except for the Mega Man X episode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mega Man, Blue Boy. He was invented by Dr. Light to be a kind of do-it-all robot. He's like the Swiss Army knife of robots in this 2000X world that the Mega Man inhabits. And what he gets like. What happens in the first episode, Josh? It's been such a while since I've seen it at this point.
Excuse me. It is mostly an origin story. But the way it's told, if I recall, is that Mega Man, and I don't remember if Roll goes out there with him. Basically, it's just like another day of Dr. Wily ruining stuff by attacking the airport just because. Dr. Wily attacking flights
the
on
Kennedy Airport.
Attacking flights in New York City on 9/11.
Holy cow.
Is what the first episode is.
You're right.
And Mega Man goes out to stop them, and he fails, right? Doesn't he get
He
busted?
gets crushed, yeah.
So they use that as an excuse to do like a flashback origin how we got here story.
Where Dr. Light explains how he fell in love with Mega Man.
Yeah. That's the first episode. And it's all about like establishing, as if this is going to be important beyond this episode, establishing Mega Man is Proto Man's brother and Roll is Mega Man's sister, which is very funny because there's a scene where like as they come online, they're immediately like fully conscious and have fully operating brains and voices. And Mega Man comes online. A minute later, Roll comes online. He goes, "She's pretty." And then Dr. Light goes, "She's your sister." And he's like, "Oh, okay."
Psych. Yeah, there's a lot of strange dynamics at play in the Mega Man universe. But Roll is probably the character that gets flushed out the most.
Yeah.
Literally, because she's just a human looking person with no armor. She's just got a vacuum hand.
Oh, it's very funny that like, yeah, the woman is relegated to like, no, you get a vacuum built into your arm.
Yep. Because she was designed
house.
for chores.
Yeah, and anytime she like tries to join them in a adventure, they're like, "No, you're supposed to stay in the house."
Yep. This is tonally a spiritual cousin to the Legend of Zelda cartoon series, where you've got in this case, in the Mega Man case, Mega Man is not overconfident. Mega Man is just humble enough to not be the same level of irritating that Link is in the cartoon.
Mega Man's like almost too much of a good boy for me in this. Like he has like almost zero personality.
He's milquetoast.
Yeah, he's just like I'm the good guy.
Yeah,
I'm the guy who does the good things.
Yeah, he's the blue-eyed savior. He's
It's just like, yeah. Can we? Actually, this is maybe where I want to talk about the animation style.
Yeah,
because I think that it's very interesting. If you poke your way through the production credits of the Mega Man series.
Lots of Japanese names in there.
There's a lot of Japanese names. There's a lot of control by Capcom.
Yep.
But it seems clear they wanted to westernize the cartoon. There are
to its detriment.
Yeah.
If you compare the average animation in an episode to the intro, the intro animation, it's night and day. Like the intro animation is the way it should have looked. Cartoon premiered on US television. There was a Japanese 3-part OVA.
Yes, that was exactly what I was going to get to.
That was it was basically a pilot for this cartoon. But it was straight up anime. And in the 80s and 90s, people thought that Western audiences would not respond well to Eastern art styles, and we had to have things like dumbed down.
Yeah.
To be, oh, that looks like me.
Yeah, which is back to the coding of Mega Man's design, and then Mega Man X2. Like they look straight out of like a Nazi youth poster.
They are. I mean, Mega Man is kind of an Aryan youth.
It's bonkers. And
what's even stranger, just to go with that thought, is that the villain of the show is based on Albert Einstein, and he is the villain in the show, meaning who's Dr. Light based on then? Dr. Mangala, perhaps? He's doing all this testing on robot twins.
Yeah. So like, it was very confusing for me at times, but I am very much not a big fan of the changes in animation design, which I believe I don't know if it's what's the name of that company we just talked about?
Ruby Spears.
Ruby Spears. I don't know if it's like those two guys' choice specifically, but I did find some sort of commentary of like, no, we did need to westernize this. We needed to make him a cool, hip, fit teen.
Yep.
He couldn't be too cartoony. But what I kind of like love is that it's still mashed up with like the Robot Masters are not really changed that much. They gave them a little bit of muscle.
Yeah.
But they still have a lot of anime flavor to them in a way that like there's not many other shows quite in this like Venn diagram of design aesthetic.
Yes. It's like they made a big bowl of soup and they weren't sure what kind of soup they were making. So half of this is American like Tex-Mex chili and the other half is like pho.
Yeah, and it's almost like it was like warming us up and conditioning us for like the Sailor Moon Dragon Ball Z takeover of or invasion rather into like, no, America, actually this is better,
I guess ramen would be a better soup than pho since it's Japanese.
Right.
Just to course correct here. Yeah, it is weird. Well, the original. So in the original OVA, I think it's called Wish Upon a Star or Upon a Star. In any case, that was true to form Mega Man like as like a character model. They kept
it looks good.
Yeah, it looks great. They needed him to be bigger and more teenage than boyish for the Ruby Spears production because they didn't think that like because Mega Man's a little guy. He's just a little buddy.
He's a cute little guy.
And it works for the video game because you're this little it's the David and Goliath thing where you're this little guy who's just throwing lemons at giant robots. And that works. It's the underdog story. It's why you like rooting for the underdogs because that little guy can do it. He's scrappy. He's got gumption.
Mm-hmm.
But for the cartoon, they needed him to be more like when you're I was 8 years old when this show premiered, and that's not to toot my own horn, but I am the target demographic for this cartoon, as are you, and as are you listeners. Probably I don't know, who cares? But we need to look up to our heroes, literally. They need to be a little bit taller than us because if it's a short little king, we can't look up to a little guy like that. We need to have a hero that's at least 5'8".
Yeah. Now I'm having I'm playing a sort of I don't know, trying to put it almost in like cultural historical context that like Japan. I'm thinking of like, what was children's content post World War II and why in Japan versus the US? And like you just set up the case. The US is all about like, you're the hero, you beautiful blonde baby boy with all your big strong muscles. You can dominate anything. And Japan could tell stories with a little more humility, think about Dragon Ball Z. Goku always gets his ass beat before and has to like work.
Yeah.
He has to be humiliated and humbled before he can dominate and win. And like American stories are always like, no, you're just the badass who always wins.
Yeah, for sure.
And like it's funny to think like how much is like the cultural hinge point of us just like nuking them.
I knew we were gonna eventually bring up nuclear war in this.
Like I think about this a lot in like why Japanese media appeals to me versus American.
I suffer from American guilt at the crimes of our nation, where it's like I love the way that World War II is portrayed to us as American like youth, where it's just like we were the good guys, we saved the day,
we did nothing
and we were the good. I mean, we defeated the Nazis, and then in every other corner of the world, they're like, and then they sent over 2 atomic bombs, wiping out hundreds of thousands of people.
And it like, I'm going back to like 4th, 5th grade. Like they teach it as like
It was that or the most costly land war that would have eradicated human life as we know it.
yeah, I'm reminded of 4th grade. There's this book called Sadako and the Thousand Paper Cranes.
Okay, I'm not familiar.
It's a not popular children's book about a little girl dying of cancer from fallout of radiation.
That's
from
hilarious.
The bombing and coping with it by folding 1,000 origami paper cranes. And like we got so into it that we tried it in the classroom and they were all hanging from the ceiling.
Okay.
And like you're as an American taught to hold this duality of like that, but also we did the right thing.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
I think the world ended in 1945 and we're just catching up.
Anyways, I just can't help but think about that when, especially comparing something like this where we have the Japanese version right alongside the American version. We can even go back to the box arts.
Yeah.
Where
of
like
course.
we had these beautiful anime cartoony box arts in the Japanese version of Rockman. And then they attempt to Americanize, westernize it with this like stupid tropey fantasy stuff, which both of them in retrospect are cool now. But at the time it was about like, because we got to show tough, angry American man
So
with a
okay,
gun.
here's an analog for what we're discussing in terms of the gentrification of cartoons, I guess, in the sense that we are now making it so that it appeals to this class and not to this other class that we'll discuss as we'll call that the others. This is the difference between Sister Rosetta Thorpe singing "You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog" and Elvis Presley singing "You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog."
That's a
where
really
the
good
original
analogy.
is what it's how it's supposed to
Yeah.
be. And then some fucking cracker comes along and he's like, "Oh no.
We're gonna get banned for hate speech."
You can bleep me out on that if you want to go through the edits. That would be funny. The only time we beep something out is when I'm calling it's our word. That is our word.
Yeah, no, I'm
So
just
it's like,
laughing. The Twitch streamer Hassan Piker, he's like the one leftist Twitch streamer got banned for using the word cracker one
that's
time.
so funny.
Anyway,
But that's what it is. It gets lost in the translation, literally lost in translation, where the original box art for the Mega Man games is like absolute bangers because it's made by the people who invented it. I think also like going back to that discussion of like what was post World War II television like for the kids, and when you start going into like the history of like anime and like the proliferation of like giant mechs comes in after World War II
and kaiju.
in kaiju. I mean, it's and we might have talked a little bit about this during our Breath of the Wild discussion way back when we were talking about the divine beasts, where it's like if you need to humanize nuclear war, I think the easiest and most relatable way to do it is like we'll just use Shinji as an example from Neon Genesis Evangelion, where it's like, okay, the Avas are a nuclear force that are something to be reckoned with, and they're in the hands of a child. That is literally what that's what Japan is saying about America, where it's like these child-brained psychopaths have discovered the secrets of the atom, and they are weaponizing it in such a way that they're not only going to kill their enemies, but they're eventually going to kill themselves too.
Yeah.
And
Or like scientists discovering, a frozen Godzilla and releasing him in his atomic breath.
sure, yeah. And it's all a matter of like who's in the pilot seat. And in the Mega Men, it's
Men's Mega.
the men's Mega. Sorry, try not to Mega Man-splain to me too much here. But Mega Man is Japan trying to take the power back, where they're saying like, well, sure, we might have just lost like a pretty sizable chunk of our population due to this little war that happened across the world, but through the miracle of robotics, we will somehow regain our honor. I don't know what it is, but there's something that much smarter people have already talked about concerning like the the sensation of post-war entertainment.
Yeah. To Mega Man specifically, maybe not, but I think we are circling it to some degree.
If only we'd sent our boys over to Iwo Jima with arm cannons that could absorb the powers of their Japanese foes.
Yeah, I venture to guess as we explore more adapted Japanese content over the course of Camp Video Games, this conversation will continue to arise because I've thought about it for years as somebody who just, for whatever reason, I was just like, stuff over there is more interesting, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it might be the other, the grass is greener on the other side of the fence kind of thing. I understand that impulse to value the media of a culture that's wildly different than ours, but still we have a lot of the same interests. It's just that we explore them differently. Like in America, we don't have anything as highfalutin as tentacle hentai. We have Simpsons porn here in America, okay?
Yeah. We keep it recognizable and in the family.
Yeah. They've got really fancy hentai over there. I bet there's some weird Mega Man hentai out there.
Yeah, I mean, I my comparison, I was trying to stick more to my Hayao Miyazaki's, Akira Toriyama's, but hentai, it is what it is. We can enjoy that as well. Anyway, back to the Mega Man animated series.
Yeah, the Mega Man animated series. Okay, it's you nailed it right on the mega head here with it's the monster of the week, except it's more the robot of the week, of course. Because this series covers when it came out, all 6 of the NES Mega Man titles were released at that point. And you see, I think, in those games, I believe there's 38 Robot Masters altogether, and we see 34 I believe, of them. This is off the dome. I'm not reading it, but
this is another thing that and I didn't watch every episode, but I got the sense from the 3 that I watched that while you might get cameos, it's pretty much focused on Cutman, Gutsman, Bomb Man, Proto Man.
Yeah.
Because you got a budget and you're only going to animate so many robots so much.
Yeah. And also it really had to do with the Bandai toy lines that were coming out.
Yes.
Because obviously, if you're going to make a cartoon targeted at kids, you've got to make a toy line for it. And this is no different. And I believe the toys were a major propelling decision maker.
Yeah, for sure. And, if maybe we had gotten more seasons of this, they might have expanded the palette of robots in the show to expand the toy line. But in this tight, how many episodes? 20 30 something?
27.
27 episodes. You keep the camera pretty narrowly focused on those 4 or 5 robots.
Yeah, and that's fine. Cutman. Is he doing like a Peter Sellers impression? He talks like this. I'm Cutman.
I don't know what character that who originally did that voice.
I think it's Peter Sellers. They would always make fun of him in Looney Tunes.
Oh, okay.
He also sounds kind of like Chris Lambert.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. I mean, you're 100% right. That's what they're doing.
Yeah,
He's like they walked in the booth and said, "I'm going to do this thing.
I'm Cutman."
Yeah. And the other one that just lightning bolted my childhood memories was Proto Man.
Oh yeah.
Do you have a memory of who else he voiced?
Is he Link?
No. He is Duo Maxwell in the English dub of Gundam Wing. And it's the exact same voice.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I am currently working my way through Mobile Suit Gundam for the first time. I've watched the pilot episode a bunch. This is the old 70s one, and it's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Oh, and I haven't rewatched Gundam Wing in 10ish years, so I was still a full-grown adult. But I remember it there's some really dumb anime moments, but overall, it's this is pretty good.
Yeah. Gundam Wing is the 90s one, isn't it?
It was the first one brought to America.
Okay.
And
Toonami.
Yeah. I believe it was published in 95. They brought it over in 99. I think the thing with Gundam Wing on Toonami for me, it was when they were first doing like the midnight replays of the unedited Dragon Ball Z and Gundam Wing.
Huge time for TV.
And I would schedule our VCR to tape those and watch those versions.
Yeah.
Instead of the whatever. And there's something about like Gundam Wing and how quote unquote like adult it felt. That it was like the moment as like I'd been tipping my toe in anime and Japanese video games and being like, I think I like this better. And Gundam Wing was like, no, this shit's so much better. That was the moment I finally accepted my fate. It's like, oh, I'm an otaku weeb. Like this is what life is now.
It's not bad, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited to work my way through the entire Mobile Suit Gundam or the Gundam universe. I'm gonna do it because they Hideaki Anno just released a Gundam movie.
Oh, I had no idea about this.
Yeah, it's called like G-Quux or something like that.
Sick.
And it's like it's one of those things that and shout out to my buddy Dave who explained it to me because he's the Gundam like super fan in my life. And apparently it's like taking place in the first series universe in an alternate kind of thing. I absorbed the information and I kept it and I really understand what he said, but it seems really intriguing and I'd love to see an Anno Gundam because obviously with Neon Genesis, why are we talking about this again?
Because let's be honest, the Mega Man animated series ain't that deep, but it's still fun anyway.
Yeah. It's all peripheral.
Yeah.
So okay, Mega Man,
but Proto Man. Duo Maxwell.
Okay,
That's
cool.
how we got down that rabbit hole.
Good. Tab closed.
Which I think like the performances are a little beyond passable. You know, like this cartoon's
Zelda. Not
Zelda.
so bad it's good.
Yeah, it's not Zelda the animated series. Like this is a legitimately decent Western Saturday morning cartoon from the 90s.
Yeah. These are this is a training bra for anime.
Right, and it's not something I want to watch again as an adult, like Gundam Wing, you know. But in watching it, I was able to understand why this is good and interesting for a 9-year-old who's been playing Mega Man games, and I give it full props and respect for that.
Absolutely. And again, like this was for a brief time, this was the #1 rated children's syndicated TV.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How? Where? Because again, it was on at 7 a.m.
Not
in
everywhere.
Nowheresville, Ohio, where I lived.
Well, you know, the bar was pretty low, but it's a critically acclaimed TV show. Now, what I still have been like, okay, so I started reading the Mega Man comic book series put out by Archie Comics, where they go over the origin story again and again for Mega Man. And okay, so it's like Mega Man is a robot that looks like a little boy who then decides to become a super fighting robot to help save what's the city they live in? Is like
In
Mega
the show,
City?
it's New York City.
It's just New York City. That's right. The Kennedy Airport.
This is very funny.
Jesus Christ. He's like, I'm fucking stuck in LaGuardia over here.
It's so much easier to fly into Newark, folks.
Hey, I'm Mega Man.
Fly to Newark, and you could take the train anywhere in the city for another $10 to $15. It ain't that bad.
Just trying to get a slice over here, but Roll's being a bitch.
It's so much easier to get into the city from Newark. I know it's in New Jersey. I know it's over the river, but trust me, just go to Newark, hop on the train. JFK, LaGuardia, middle of fucking nowhere. Don't go there if you don't have to.
I got stuck at LaGuardia for 27 hours about a decade
God,
ago.
that sucks.
That's okay. I snuck whiskey in. Actually, I remember during that stay, it was a really bad. I just had a horrible visit with my father, and then I was coming home from that, and there was like a tropical storm that like shut everything down. And luckily, I had brought my novelization of Resident Evil 2 with me. So I was getting drunk at the airport reading Resident Evil 2. Yeah, that was a bad day. That's a bad time in general.
Yeah.
Ugh. You know, kids, campers, you don't have to keep in touch with your parents.
We're giving a lot of good life lessons in lore today.
Hentai. You don't need to talk to your parents. Just watch hentai.
right,
Patreon.com/campvideogames.
I think our advice is regressing a little at this point. Anyways.
Watch hentai with your parents. The tentacle's doing what now? I don't feel good.
So I don't know how much there is like to say about this first episode because we kind of already talked about like the origin story of Mega Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mega Man is like a utility robot who gets retrofitted as a super fighting robot.
Yeah.
Now this is if campers, if you've kept up with your super robot boy lore, this is very similar to the origin story of Astro Boy, where instead of in that one the scientist's son is killed and then reincarnated as a robot, I suppose, or revived as a robot. But in this case, he is just like, instead of being a household chores robot, I want to be a killer.
Yeah.
And Dr. Light's like, good. That's good.
I know how to do that.
I love putting guns in children's arms. Oh, I have to talk about a very intrusive thought that I had when I was a kid, as a direct result of Mega Man. So, you know what? We'll say trigger warning for self-harm coming up. I was a little kid. I was on the playground, and
there's put up some footage of this beautiful blue boy while you tell this horrible story.
And I was on this playground, and there was this real big hill. There's the basketball court at the top of this hill, and then there's just this big hill. And I remember thinking, as a kid who doesn't have a fully developed brain and is also stupid, and I have like lead paint poisoning probably.
Hell yeah.
You know, whatever else. But I'm like looking down at the bottom of this hill, and I was like, if I threw myself down this hill, I might lose an arm, and then I could get a Mega Man Buster arm.
Yeah. I mean, I usually just went so far as like pointing my arm out and pretending I had one. I didn't have intrusive thoughts like that, but I did do a lot of pretend.
Yeah.
I did a lot of pretend of that. And then when I was probably still too old to be playing that level of pretend, I liked to imagine I was a Gundam. Just like swinging and fighting stuff in space. So also in the first episode of the animated series, we are introduced to his dog Rush, who is just a Scooby-Doo but a robot.
Yep.
Which I kind of like.
I love that.
I think it works for the dynamic of this show. Is like, oh gosh, Rush is up to his old tricks again.
Yeah. Rush is, he's filling the same role as Scooby does.
Yeah.
As Scooby Doo's, where it's just kind of goofy, kind of just like oh gosh, things are going bad, except not,
Ruh-roh. Just think of Scooby Doo, you think Ruh-roh. And that's Rush the dog.
Yeah. Rush-roh.
They do the I don't know like the proper word for it. I think of them as like interstitials into the breaks.
Oh yeah, Reggae Man will be right back.
Oh no, he goes Reggae. I forget. Yeah. It's like, but when I heard that the first time rewatching this, that was another thing that's like bam, like right out of my brain stem. Like that was a core memory. Yeah, it was like in Breath of the Wild.
Oh,
and then he has the memory.
Oh boy, you want to talk about the news about the Breath of the Wild thing that they're doing, Tears of the Kingdom? They're what's the Switch 2 doing?
Let's save that for a minute or two at the end.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, we'll get back to that at the end here.
Dr. Light programmed roll with breasts.
He sure did.
Why?
Why do we gender robots?
Why do we gender robots?
Wow, that thought never crossed my mind until you said it out loud. Like he had to make decisions about proportions.
She's a healthy B cup, I guess.
Oh my God. insane.
Dr. Wily's like, make them bigger.
And I get it, you know, kids cartoon, whatever. But yeah, when you actually think about real world practical yada yada,
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway,
I mean, because in this one, this was if I were to talk to my classmates back in grade school about Mega Man, one argument I remember getting into was,
there's a girl robot.
no, they're saying he's not a Mega Man, he's a boy, and I'm like, he's a man. And they're like,
watch the cartoon. They made him a man.
well, this one he's like Mega Teen.
Which, yeah, and this kind of actually leads into the Mega Man X episode. Quite well,
Yeah.
Because,
Wait, you don't want to discuss the really epic lore of Robot Dinosaur Park, where
not really, no.
or the one where Dr. Wily makes robots based on horror movies?
So, I was excited to, like I said, to watch the Mega Man X episode because of like how big a deal it felt like as a kid, because it's the only moment that this show feels at all like serialized, and that was a big deal for me as a kid, was like when I could turn on a cartoon and you had to, like, it followed up on what had happened the day before, or the week
previously on.
It felt like, oh, this is an adult show.
Yeah.
You
Adults
know?
have conversations that last longer than 25 minutes.
And it just like, I loved that about the X-Men animated series. I loved that about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't give a crap about anything Marvel or DC now, but I was a Marvel boy. So like the Batman animated series didn't do it for me as much. That's a story about a rich boy. Who cares about him, you know? But the Mega Man X episode in this other show I was obsessed with is the only moment that felt like that.
Yeah,
Of like,
yeah.
oh, this is the lore. Here we go.
Yeah.
We're getting more. We're moving ahead. And it starts with Vile and Spark Mandrill. They time travel back because what, they need titanium or something?
Yes. That's right. Because Dr. Light found a bunch of it, and Dr. Wily wants to steal it, but then Vile and Spark, is it Mandrill or Mandrake?
Oh, I believe it's Mandrill.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Spark Mandrill. They come back from the future. They time travel to the year 2000X to steal the titanium to bring back to the future, so that they can make more bad robots for.
They got to make more Mavericks.
What I thought was interesting about this decision is that Sigma is the villain of Mega Man X, and like Vile, from what I remember of the game, he was kind of like an outlier. He wasn't a maverick as much as he was just like a rogue robot that
He was Boba Fett.
he just hated Mega Man.
Yeah.
And like, it's a weird episode, but it did pack a punch for it, because first, Spark Mandrill is an incredibly intimidating looking robot compared to the very cutesy Cut Man, Guts Man. Like, he's like this like silent monster that is like super powerful,
And
paired
then-
with a Mardi Gras Boba Fett.
Yeah, and the other robot masters that you've been hanging out with for 2 seasons at this point, they're more comic relief. You've got Cut Man Peter Sellers, you've got like Clumsy Guts Man.
Yeah.
Like so I was like, oh, this is a cool escalation
Yes.
for the crowd now who's into the Spider-Man, the X-Men. And unfortunately we get 1 episode of it.
It was they were testing the waters, because the next move, if they had not been canceled after season 2, would have been to progress into a Mega Man X cartoon series, which I think would have been a better fit for a TV format.
Yeah, because there's definitely a lot more story, a lot more lore there, a lot less monster of the week. However, the Mega Man X design, what led us into this is this idea of like Mega Boy, Mega Man, and like the original Mega Man, the cute anime style, looks like a boy. They decided the Ruby Spears team, no, he's got to be a hip, cool American teen. And they made him a little Hitler Youth coded.
Yes.
And then Mega Man X comes in and it's just straight up out of like a Nazi
He's an
poster.
Ubermensch.
Yeah, like, it's weird.
Which
It's
actually,
too
now that I
weird.
think about it, Ubermensch just basically just means Mega Man.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd talk about Friedrich Nietzsche in this Mega Man episode, but I think he is kind of embodying the Nazi ideals.
It's uncomfortable to look at this as like a character I'm supposed to be rooting for. The way he's designed, and it looks like more akin to the way the American box art Mega Man looked.
Yeah.
Which everybody like derided and knew was a joke, I think, by this point. He's uncomfortable to look at.
He doesn't have a very strong chin either, which is kind of strange.
And he's like 3 feet taller than Mega Man.
Yeah.
Whereas like going back to the original artwork for Mega Man X, like that is a cool character.
Yeah.
Especially the upgraded version, like in the official art, is like
with all the white armor.
God, we could have had such a cool show with that. Instead, we get this really creepy, like, Hitler Youth thing.
There's this, I mean, and I guess it's appropriate that there's a uncanny valley to these robot people.
That crossed my mind as well. Uncanny Valley-esque. Yeah.
There's so the thing that they want to steal this titanium, these like, so that they can develop even stronger robots, I guess. And like we see a quick glimpse of Sigma, which is like, he's the interesting villain.
Yeah, but again, we're teasing this for another season.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Which is we were just denied that, which in retrospect, as we're talking about how bad Mega Man X's design is, it's like maybe that's a gift that we never got.
Yeah.
You know,
We did.
it's like this is like you know, guys on 4chan in the 2010s would have upheld him as like their hero if we had enough of that. Like, this is the ideal man.
What's interesting is that, okay, so Dr. Light developed Mega Man X at near the end of his life, I suppose. So this is is this a causation loop in time travel theory where it's like Mega Man X comes back and he tells Dr. Light, you invented me. So now Dr. Light's like, well, I guess
Well, shoot, I better get to work.
supposed to invent that. But like, okay, so the dynamic with Mega Man and Roll and Dr. Light is that like Dr. Light's their father. And there's absolutely no like sibling kinship type of talk. It's not like Mega Man's like, no, you're the original. I was built with you as the template, and now I'm just a progression. He's just like, huh, you're kind of cute, little buddy. Like there's missed opportunities all over the place in this Mega Man cartoon. But I think establishing like, I'm your brother from the future is a pretty interesting like situation to encounter, especially when you're a super fighting robot.
Yeah, and it's like, again, we can make this critique all day, but for 9-year-old me, it didn't matter. You know, I was like, Mega Man X is here.
Yeah.
Losing my mind. I also thought it was just a little strange and weird that in the games, they just call him X.
Yeah.
And this is like every time
Mega Man X.
They're always like, Mega Man X.
Yeah. And
It
sometimes
just felt
they
very clumsy.
I don't like it when they just call Mega Man Mega either. They just call him Mega.
Like he gets it's I don't know.
It's called Meg.
A little clunky in the writing, but again, they're living in the moment. They didn't know how culturally that would feel 25 years later.
Would have been really cool to see Zero. Like
obviously
in this, like I've got such a hard on for
the
Zero.
Second Mega Man X came out, I was like, I'd rather have it be Zero, but that design would have been nuts. I feel like Zero would have looked like Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah, I can see that.
It would have been like somewhere in between that.
Just a hot twink.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you have not played very much of Mega Man Legends.
No, I've not.
And
I played it for like 2 or 3 hours at your house one day.
Really?
Yeah. That's like the 3D RPG-ish one, right?
Yeah. Wait, when did that happen?
I don't know. It was like 5 or 6 years ago.
I need to stop smoking weed. Damn, that's cool. But
it was like one of those moments where, you know, somebody's like, no, I need you to sit down and enjoy my favorite thing, and I need to watch you enjoy it.
I really don't remember this, Josh. I'm kind of getting worried because there is Alzheimer's in my family. Okay, so one of the like secondary weapons that you can get in Mega Man Legends is Roll's vacuum arm, which I don't think there's anything like that in any of the other games. As far as I remember, I don't remember any vacuum powers. Because it would be weird to fight a robot called like Suckman.
Yeah, well, and if you think about the design of the original Mega Man games, you would have to like design like every object in every screen of like which one is
what's permeable, like what'll
suckable or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
you know, like, and that's just probably more programming than is worth the while, and they had the space for on an NES cartridge.
In the Mega Man Legends games, you can pick up. It's called Zenny. It's their currency, so you can like upgrade stuff. And the vacuum, literally, the only thing that it can do is just like suck up money from across the room.
Hell yes.
So that's why they got this woman with the vacuum box just sucking up all the money.
I can't believe.
Nagging.
I'm
joking.
Never mind. I forgot my next thought. So, are there any additional notes on the Mega Man X episode? The big crossover here.
Yeah, I think if you were into like the Marvel cartoons of the 90s, I would say that this Mega Man X like episode reminded me very much of like when they introduced Apocalypse.
Oh yeah.
Where it's just like, this ain't Magneto. This is like a bigger deal. It seemed like it just like had so much gravitas where it's just like, I mean, his gun is just bigger, and it like Mega Man would shoot stuff and it would just go pew pew, and then Mega Man X would shoot stuff and it would go like
exactly. There's
so cool.
I feel like my bottom line for this series is like a lot of like, I don't know, or like wasted potential,
Sure.
You know, of like, ooh, you just missed the mark on the design of some things. You were setting it up that it could have gone a few more seasons and been like a really great like tween series like those Marvel and whatever shows at the time. And then for some reason they just stopped. I don't remember why. I read it somewhere, but they just said, "Yeah, that's enough."
I think by that point, like, the Capcom was shifting focus to Capcom keeps like ditching Mega Man, where it's like it's this thing that keeps coming up, but then they just keep going like, whatever. Like there just doesn't seem to be enough like organic interest in Mega Man to really, really oversaturate the Western market with it.
I mean, it might have like a similar problem to something like Final Fantasy, where like in this case of Final Fantasy, you have the first like 6 games are all like kind of, you know what you're getting each time, and then after that every game's totally different. So now it's like, what even is Final Fantasy?
Yes.
So it's like, how do you find a new audience for it? Whereas Mega Man, they did that with Legends. You know, they tried a totally new thing, but it's like, it's been the same game over and over and over again so many times that like, other than people like us who are hitting an age where it's like, we finally have the disposable income, but like we don't have the time to buy these games if you keep putting them out. It's like, well, why make another one? Because like, what's the market there? Especially when you've got something like Street Fighter that has like a huge market of like competitive fighting game, esports types people. Resident Evil keeps selling. They keep building on that. Whereas like Mega Man is like, I don't know, what is there to dredge here anymore?
Yeah. Well, I'm interested to talk with you about Mega Man 11, because that is
Actually,
their most.
yes, this is a good thing to end this on.
That's their most recent release, and
because I've not played it yet.
It's got some interesting designs to it that I think will we'll get to that next time, or maybe next time. I'm not sure what our schedule is, but with this Mega Man cartoon, it's like a part of my genetic makeup at this point where like if I was just out in the wild and I just heard
Right.
super fighting robot, like I would immediately lose my mind. I'm very, very much like a huge fan of the theme song. Like I don't know if we talked about that yet, but it's a banger. It is. And I love the complexity of the lyrics.
It's worth,
Super fighting robot.
I know
Mega Man.
we're winding down here, but I think it's worth noting that I think they did a good job capturing what's good about Mega Man music in that theme song as best you can for like a 90s American cartoon show. It's like there's still like a little bit of that something that made the first, especially like 3 Mega Man game soundtracks like really good.
It's like melodic speed metal.
Yeah. Cranking those metal guitars and riffs. Like that's all in there. And that makes it a pretty good theme song. Anyways, Mega Man the Animated Series. I think I've sort of said what I have to say about it. You got anything left?
When the bombs drop and culture is reduced to its ashes, I will be the only fan of this cartoon left alive.
I'll probably be watching and rewatching The Sopranos. But
I'll just be trying to relive those glory days where I was thinking about cutting my arm off so I could become Mega Man. Those are the good old days.
Yeah. And we were bringing up the Switch 2 stuff a little bit. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that for a second, because this will come out probably like 2 weeks after the Switch 2 initial announcement that we were both, it seems before we started recording, tickled and confused by.
It will, especially with the President Cheetos tariffs.
Dang Cheeto in the White House.
Because that like pre-orders are on hold right now.
Yeah, I don't understand. I haven't followed that as closely. So like the announcement happened. I saw $500 for a Switch 2 and Mario Kart World 2, whatever it's called. And I was like, yeah, put me on that wait list. Whatever. Okay. And then it seems like the next day, there's this announcement of like, tariffs. We'll see. Everything is going to be ungodly expensive for the foreseeable future. So don't plan on buying anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know like what is going to happen when. It's a very weird time to release a video game console.
Yeah. It's been a decade since the Switch premiered at this point. 2015 or 2016 it came out.
I think 2017, March 2017.
Whoa. Okay.
Sounds
Specific.
Right.
Because Breath of the Wild was a launch title for it.
I might be wrong. It might be 2016. But anyway.
In any case, we're approaching the decade mark for the Switch, and they seem to like to release a new home console just about every decade, and they're due.
Yeah, March 3rd, 2017.
Now, I just wonder if this Switch 2 will share the same fate as the Wii U, where you can't just do
where it's like the off release,
where it's
like
just
Nintendo has a pattern of doing like an off release,
or it's just like we like the Wii was like one of the most successful like Nintendo home consoles, and it's still got some legs to it in terms of how easy it is to mod. And then the Wii U comes out, and everyone's like, "Who gives a fuck?"
Yeah.
And
it was doing too much.
And it was because it's got the same name. Like don't do that. You don't release like it's not. This is an Xbox or PlayStation where you can be like, this is a PlayStation. This is a PlayStation 2. This is an Xbox. This is an Xbox 360. This is Xbox One. Nintendo can't do that. If it says Nintendo, that's good. But they need a new name for their console, or it will fail. Besides the Super Nintendo.
Interesting. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm assuming times have changed, and they knew. This thing is such a hit because like the gimmicky components of it are still compatible with like modern games and crossover from other consoles and from PC.
Yeah.
In a way that they were like, oh, we can't mess this up. We can't do a 3DS type thing ever again. We can't do half of it's a touch screen and like, which is kind of a shame. because there's a lot of really weird, interesting like DS titles.
Sure.
And the way they tried to split the difference was the C button is the new.
Wow.
So I kind of popped off about this for a minute a few days ago, but like what they introduced is you can chat with your friends in real time by hitting the C button. And the audio like that they featured and showcased is like it's fine. But then there's also you can get a camera attachment. They want to go back to like Xbox Connect type stuff.
Oh, that was a hit
for some games. And you can live stream your friends' games. So like if they're playing a different game, you can live stream what they're playing down in a corner. Which for one, I'm like, that's just not how the human brain works. We're not supposed to be paying attention to so many different things at once. But whatever, go for it. However, the frame rate, it's like 5 frames per second that's being fed to you. And I'm like, we solved this problem. What do you like? What like their own games have solved this problem.
Yeah.
Mario 35 had 35 other players streaming in real time at, I don't know, probably 30 FPS. I don't understand why it looks so bad. Tetris 99. You've got 99 players on the screen, real time, 30 FPS. Why? I don't understand this.
I did a little bit of research into that specific reason, and apparently Shigeru Miyamoto's wife thought it was a good idea.
I can't pay attention to that much information on the screen. Can you slow it down, Shiggy?
Shiggy, would you slow it down?
It looks, and then the video feed looks like a Skype call from 2012. It's wild that like it's nice that they did it honestly, but it's like, oh, why couldn't you square this circle in 2025 on this hardware? And they did no announcements about like what is running inside of it.
Yeah,
it's very bizarre.
Is there going to be mouse support?
Yeah, and the controllers are a mouse, and the game that they showed to like feature that is it's wheelchair basketball. So like they tried to like do like it's a representation game, and like that part it's fine. I get it conceptually, but so like you're a robot in a wheelchair.
Nope.
And you have to push your Switch controller, which I foresee like a lot of strained arms from playing it for half an hour. And it's one of these things where it's like, I'm like, God dang it. There's a section of YouTube that's going to get a ton of hits for talking trash about how stupid it is that they made a wheelchair game, and they're going to get a bunch of attention, and that's going to make it so that like you're not allowed to point out like, no, it just looks like a bad game. Like, it's just like, when I looked at it, I was like, this is so visually uninteresting. The motion is like, looks really clumsy, and like, it's weird. It was like, this is your highlight of this technology, was just such a bizarre choice.
Yeah. I'm not criticizing that decision from an ableist perspective.
No,
I'm criticizing
like the stupidest people on YouTube are going to make a big deal about that.
Yeah. I'm criticizing that for the fact that it doesn't sound very fun.
Yeah, it looked like it could be cool if they had put like Rocket League level aesthetic and effort into it, and like done it. It's like, oh, it's Rocket League with like new motion controls. Maybe. And you can even keep like, the like wheelchair basketball aesthetic thing. I'd redo the characters. The characters were just like these bland gray robots. I don't understand. Like, there's zero personality in it.
Nintendo is the bright, colorful, fun one.
Yeah.
Like, out of all of the different developers, Nintendo is the one that is like the visually appealing one.
Which all the other games did that. All their new games outside of this one, new Donkey Kong looks sick. New Mario Kart looks sick. I'm not into Kirby, but that looked really cool for the people that are.
Yeah.
But they spent, like, it felt like 70% of the announcement of the Switch being like, look at this backlog of games that have already been out for 5 years that we're finally bringing to Switch with like lower draw distance and lower resolution and bad upscaling. And I was like, why would you feature this?
How is this an improvement over the Switch?
Why did just like be like, just trust like people know like, okay, no, we're bringing all the games, you know, like Final Fantasy VII Remake, not Rebirth, just Remake from 2020.
Yeah.
Finally coming to the Switch. And it looks not quite as good as it did on PS4. Like, why would you feature that as a minute trailer of your new system? Was weird.
Nintendo's making some weird choices. And I feel like a lot of it is to appease third-party developers. Like,
yeah, to say like, you can make money over here now too. Yeah.
But like, if you go back to our discussion on Resident Evil 2 Remake, that cloud version of the Resident Evil 2
like
remake,
the games looked like that.
Yeah, and it's just like, if I'm buying a Switch 2, I'm buying it to play the new Zelda, not an improved version of the last generation's Zelda.
Yeah.
Like, I don't buy a $500 console so that I can replay something.
Yeah, like the one that got me the most was Elden Ring. Was like, I think the first big third party big time game of the year. We're finally bringing it to Switch. And I was like, it just looks not like what I remember playing on my PS5 a little bit. And then they just add like a little label, Tarnished Edition, which is the Tarnished is like the characters you play are the Tarnished. The Lands Between is it's
Aren't you like a dead god in the Elden Ring series?
No, you are like the forsaken race of people that are still like suffering, living in the land, and you're trying to rebuild it.
Oh, just like us.
And they're called the Tarnished. But to label your game Tarnished Edition,
very bad.
I'm like, does that mean I get more or less?
It's tarnished. It's like
you
buying
tarnished the product.
It's like, I got a discount on this can of soup because it was dented.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you doing, dude? It just has like been baffling my brain for 4 days now since that announcement. But at the same time, they said, you know, we got your Zeldas, your bot was your Tok-Ks at 60 FPS. And I said, all right, here's $500.
Yeah. Josh, what are you playing outside of the Mega Man cartoon series these days?
You know what? Mostly Yakuza Like a Dragon. I'm finally almost there. My game counter says I'm at 85 hours. I think it's been running on its own a little bit. I think I'm at more like 50. It's funny because I finally hit a point in the game, and I haven't had like a lot of time to just like binge a video game all night lately. And I finally did that this week. I was just like, I've been so busy with yada yada yada. I was like, just like phone off.
Is that what you call your love life?
I was like, phone off. I'm just gonna grind this game for like 6 hours straight.
Hell yeah!
And it finally, like, it clicked with me that like, oh, you don't have to care about the details of the story in a Yakuza game, because there's so much talking about like, this happened back then with these people who are not here, who have never been on screen, and like, it's a lot of like telling versus showing and talking head. And maybe I've talked about this here of like, they make those games fast and cheap by doing that, by not showing the action and just having people tell the story of what happened off screen. And I'm so bored by that part of it, but everything else about it, like just the vibe is so fun that it finally clicked with me. I was like, oh, I don't have to care about the story. Like, it just, I get the general beats and they're fun and they're silly.
Yeah.
And I'm locked in. You know? Now that I'm on the final chapter of the game, I finally got it after 50 hours.
That's all right.
So that's what I've been up to. And what about you? You got anything going on?
I am about 12 hours into Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
Yes.
And I'm playing it on my DS Lite. The way
the way God intended.
That's right. And it's a lot simpler than like the War of the Lions. Right. But that's what I want right now. I like grinding. I like the idea of the game cycle for Tactics Advance, at least the way I'm approaching it, is I have my core 6-member team, and every one of them is going down a different job path.
Mhm.
And it's really just like you equip an item, which will then allow you to master a skill. And once that skill is mastered, you unequip that item and keep going. And just like just trying to build a well-developed character. And it's bringing me a lot of joy in the sense that like I can just like very easily zone out and like play this like it's like playing like baby chess with a little side of like, you know, video game combat in it.
Yeah, actually this is part of like what made me lock into the Yakuza game is there's a moment where like you're just plowing through the story skill like difficulty wise, and it's just like, yeah, just keep smashing your attacks, and then all of a sudden you get to this boss fight that has the most insane like skill check that I've like just jump in escalation that I've seen in a game in a long time, where it's like, no, you've got to go back and grind, and the only place there's like a battle arena you have to grind through that it's really repetitive and redundant. And I was like, I just like, there's one part of me that's like, this like is triggering that like you're wasting my time button in my brain. And then there's like the other part of me I finally gave into that was like, you know what if video game time sometimes is just like grinding something out while I have my audiobook on in the background? What if I just am okay with that sometimes? Because I've been on this kick of like, no, if I'm gonna be engaging in one medium, that's where my attention should be, you know? Sure. And I was like, I finally like gave myself permission to break that.
Nice. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm locking in. Sometimes grinding is fun.
It is fun. It's fun. And like, I think the reason why like psychologically we are drawn to games where the grinding is because it is physical proof of progress. It is like, hey, I accomplished this thing that I set my mind and heart to, and now I'm quote unquote better as a result. At least my character is. Me, I'm doing fine. I'm not.
Well,
grinding.
on the other hand, I was like listening to an audiobook like for work, kind of. So I was like, look, it's being productive.
Billable hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. I actually have a question for you, the resident Final Fantasy expert here at Camp Video Games. So in Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, a bunch of kids read a magical book that then transports them into Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
While in their real life, they play Final Fantasy. Is there any other game in the series that does something like that?
This is interesting,
right? Because like, okay, Final Fantasy it exists as a property in Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, which I thought was very interesting. And I can't think of other. I know that the first 6 don't do that, I know that 7 and 8 don't do. Well, 8 kind of did a weird thing where it was all a dream or something, right?
In which one?
In 8 wasn't like.
No, they were having flashbacks.
Yeah, I didn't finish 8 actually.
Not in the mainline series. The only one I think of maybe does that, and I only know this because I've like watched a video or two by like creators that I like, and where it's like I just like the creator and they made a video about World of Final Fantasy. I think that might have a bit of that. Where you're like, oh, we're kids who live in a world where Final Fantasy exists, and then we go into the world of Final Fantasy, and there's crossover of all the games.
Okay.
There's the fighting game. I don't know if there's a Final Fantasy. I want to say it's Disgaea, where like it's all the characters. There's a lot of merging of universes in Final Fantasy. There's a lot of in modern Final Fantasy. There's a lot of just like Marvel multi universe nonsense.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 14 has like sort of teased it, but it does it a little more tastefully instead of being like, all the guys from this universe are lining up. It'll be like, oh, you fight the boss from this universe.
Oh, cool.
Just like comes over as like a fan service type thing. But then they tease like, oh, there's like 13 or 14 different like, I forget what they call them, 14 different like worlds, and sometimes we travel to one anyway. But I don't think they've done exactly what you're talking about.
I just thought like, hey, that's an interesting take on like, what does Final Fantasy actually mean? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know the game was actually Square's last chance before the bankruptcy, but it seems in Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced, like it's literally like they have. Well, I don't know how it ends, so don't spoil it for me. But,
I never finished that one. So.
I don't think they're gonna be stuck in the Final Fantasy world. That's my guess.
Anyways, yeah, that's it. That's the Mega Man animated series. And some other stuff.
yeah. Do you ever play Air Guys?
No.
It's when you said Final Fantasy fighting game, my ears perked up because it was a PlayStation fighting game where you could play as Cloud and Sephiroth. And then some other like
I think
random.
Tifa maybe. I don't know that for sure.
I don't remember.
I
don't think they had the jiggle physics perfected at that point. But yeah, that's the only Final Fantasy fighting game that I know of. What's Disgaea? I know we're just wrapping up, but what is that?
It's basically I would say is like every character from every game comes into one universe and there's some contrived reason they're all fighting. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not interested.
Me either.
But I am interested in hearing from you campers in the comments. Let us know, what is your favorite episode of the Mega Man animated series? I bet it's a good one.
That last one with the toys is pretty stupid.
It's pretty
good.
We're done.
Yep. All right. So
Patreon.com/camp video games.
Yeah.
We've got commentary for every single episode of the Legend of Zelda animated series, and there's commentary for Josh's playthroughs on that, I guess. And I don't know, it'll fix you. It'll make you a better person. You'll be happier. You'll get along with your family.
We've had at least a few fans who are like, I just like having your voices in my head. If you're that kind of person, that's what that Patreon's for.
Get the matches, set the fire.
Don't do that. Okay, we're gonna.
Okay. All right. Bye, campers.
If you'd like to write to us, send a message to campvideogames@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram @campvideogames. If you want to become a real happy camper, you can support Camp Video Games on Patreon. For $5 a month, you'll be granted access to even more discussions about movie-based video games, game-based movies, full-length commentaries, playthroughs, and more. Whether you sign up or not, we're glad to have you here at Camp Video Games.